Hi, I'm going to be talking about my pilgrimage to Machu Picchu today. So, as I said, I'm going to be heading to Machu Picchu, which is located in Peru. To be specific, in Peru, it's going to be in the Andes Mountains, which in the Andes Mountains, within that, it's going to be right above the Urumba River. It's about 8,000 feet above sea level, so it's at a very high elevation, and it's a really interesting place to go and visit. So, once you get to the top, what does it look like? It's a really interesting place, and obviously, so many people know about it, but what is it really? It's Incan ruins, so ancient Incan ruins. It was built in about the 15th century, and so it's obviously super old. And there's about 200 different buildings within the whole Machu Picchu area. So it's absolutely insane. There's so many different, like, why was it built? What was it built for? And we'll get to that later. But just as an overview, it is huge and it's on top of that mountain and it's nearly 1 million square feet. So it's a really big and really impressive to look at for especially when it was built. Um, And looking at why I selected this pilgrimage site, there's a couple reasons why I decided to do that. One of those being that my parents wanted to go to Machu Picchu. They had a trip all planned for the year that COVID broke out, but then obviously it broke out and nobody was able to travel. So they've been talking about it for years now, and I've just been hearing about it and doing my own research, looking into it, and it seems like a really interesting and cool place to go. Also, just on a personal level, I have always been very interested in the seven wonders of the world. Well, I guess this would be considered the seven new wonders of the world, but I really would love to be able to visit all of them. I think that would be a really big and cool accomplishment to make by the end of my life, obviously. I don't need to do that all now, but I do think it would be really interesting and really amazing if I could do that. So this would be a great place to start. So why is Machu Picchu important? Why was it built? What is the story behind it? Basically, it was built obviously by the ancient Incan civilizations, and it was, some people think it was built as a place to worship, as a place to praise their gods, but more recently we've actually discovered that it was built more to use as an escape and as a place to relax and be with nature and just to worship, but that was not the main reason. This was used in the royal family of the Incan civilizations as a place to escape and as a place to relax. Um, the Incans actually did believe in gods and they believed that they resided in nature. So that is why when you look at Machu Picchu, you see it's kind of built into the mountainside and it's built into the natural landscape because they wanted it to be at one with the mountain. They see that nature's in the mountains, in the river, in the wind, in everything around them. So they didn't want it to be just something built on top of a mountain. They wanted it to be built within and for it to be organically built with the mountain. So there have not been any spiritual or historical significant things that have happened here. No one's, been cured of blindness or anything like that that we've heard of in other religions. But it is something to be said that this is only here and has only lasted this long because when the Spaniards took over Peru, somehow they did not find this. Most of the Incan ruins were actually destroyed when the Spaniards came over, but because they didn't find Machu Picchu, it's still intact and still in such great condition, and we should be very grateful for that. So, why do people visit Machu Picchu? There's obviously an array of reasons. Some people want to go because, obviously, as I said, it's one of the seven wonders of the world. So many people know about it, and it's obviously a beautiful place to be. There's a great view once you get to the top of all the valley below, the rivers, the other mountains, and it's obviously beautiful once you get to the top. But there is something to be said that some people want to, feel and see what their Incan relatives and ancestors have built and feel what they might have been doing in the past, just to get a nice feel for what it really was like. And it's such an accomplishment. This is a crazy thing to be built even today. So for this to have been built thousands of years ago, so many people want to see this and pay homage and pay tribute to what it was. So, people have so many different reasons, but those are usually the main ones for why they want to visit. So on this trip, I'm going to be taking my friend Lucy with me. I met her in college and she's actually very good at hiking. She goes on a lot of backpacking trips. So I think it's important to bring somebody who knows that type of background with you. So that's who I'm going to be bringing with me. Looking at flights, I'm going to be flying out of Sacramento to LAX and then to Lima, Peru, the main airport, and then from there to a smaller local airport called Alejandro Velasco Asente Cusco International Airport, and that's going to bring us right by Machu Picchu. So we're going to be going in April, to be specific, 410 to 418. The pilgrimage is going to take about 5 days, so I just want to, give ourselves some time to see some other things as well once we get there. We chose April because the best time to go is April to May, and that's just because, it is south of the equator, so obviously the seasons are going to be switched, and it's a very humid location. There's a lot of wildlife, bugs, all of that, and you want to go when it's not as humid, because you are going to be going up in such steep elevation. It's going to be a good workout. So you want to, set yourself up for success and you want everything to line up perfectly. So that's when they recommend you go. For packing, we don't need anything too specific. We do obviously need to bring our hiking boots, sunscreen, clothes, hiking pants, obviously, layers that you can wear because it's going to get cold at night, but it does get pretty hot during the day. However, the specifics of the backpacks and everything, we actually will not be needing to be in charge of because somebody else, the service that we're going to be hiring is going to be in charge of that. The service is going to be called Hike Machu Picchu the Right Way. So that's going to be who's going to be in charge of that. So that's going to be very helpful. So how long, as I said, we're going to be going from the 10th to the 18th, and that's just going to be in April. And then how much money are we going to need to save? So I did a lot of research, and it looks like they recommend maybe $30 a day for food is going to be more than enough because the cost of living obviously there is so much lower than it is here. So we decided to allot $35 a day just to be safe. Now we obviously don't need that every day because 5 days we are going to be on this journey. So for that, the food will be included. So for that journey, it's going to be $625 for the service. And we just decided to do that because obviously we're not professional hikers. We don't know what we're doing. And it just takes the burden off of having to bring the backpacking gear, having to lead ourselves on this thing. And obviously, being two females, it's probably not the safest idea to go hiking in the middle of nowhere by ourselves. So we just want to make sure everything's safe. And that just made it a lot easier for us. So for the flights, it's going to be $1,220 each, and that's going to be where obviously the hefty chunk of the money is going to go. And for the hotel, it's going to be about $38 a night, and we're going to be staying at the Foray Machu Picchu Hotel. So that's going to run us, it's a very cheap hotel. It's going to be about $38 a night. And we chose this because obviously we're going to have to leave some stuff in the hotel. And we don't want to be spending a lot of money on a hotel that we're not even going to be staying at. So that's why we chose that hotel. So adding that all up individually, it's going to be $2,102. So obviously that is a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, you're going on such an amazing experience. You can't really put a price tag on that. And it is such an amazing thing for $2,000. That's not too bad looking at it. So when we're looking at what could go wrong, what are we scared of, what are our fears, I think the biggest thing to pay attention to would be altitude sickness. altitude sickness. So many people have to turn around when they're hiking Machu Picchu simply because they um they can't make it up. They get altitude sickness and they have to turn around. And I think that would be very depressing and very sad if we paid all this money and spent all this time and effort to just have to turn around in the end. So I think that would be a big fear. Also, traveling internationally with no, adults or no parents, that's going to be obviously a little bit fear and a little stressful, but I'm sure it would be fine. But that would be another thing to take into consideration. So looking at this whole trip as a whole, obviously, I genuinely do think I will be taking this trip at some point in my life. As I said, it's a bucket list item that I've always wanted to see the seven wonders of the world, and I really hope this does happen. And obviously, this is going to be a great place to start because now I have so much knowledge about it and all the things. I have hotels to look at, I know flights, I know where I need to be. So I think this is a very plausible trip I could be taking. These are going to be my works cited. These are all the places that I got information from. And yeah, I hope you guys learned a little something about Machu Picchu.